Peace to you. 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 Leave this place. May the memory of friends linger in your mind. The beauty of the water, the quietness of time. But most of all we pray that what has been and what you see shows you Jesus.
Hello. Welcome to the introductory episode of my podcast, The Faith Conservationist. I actually started The Faith Conservationist about 15 years ago as a blog, and I worked at it off and on, mostly off. The demands of parish life and the demands of raising a family kept me from getting at it the way I wanted to and being as consistent as I wanted to. I would have needed to shortchange one of my other obligations. So I've written articles on and off for some national magazines and things like this, but mostly just kept my thoughts to myself. Part of the reason, though, that I kept my thoughts to myself was that I thought there is so much material out there right now. What we need, not at all, is another half-baked set of ideas by an amateur, muddying up the water yet more. A couple of things have changed to change my mind in this regard. One of them is that I believe we are at a moment of cultural crisis or cultural inflection. Think of it how you will, but I think everything's changing. And we have a responsibility to speak to the change when we need to. The other thing that's changed is that in addition to what's going on in the culture, my own sense of my responsibility and my role in it has changed. None of us is going to figure this out alone. And I think I was always afraid of not having the answer before I spoke. So this podcast is going to be a series of essays, thoughts I'm thinking as we go. Hopefully they will contribute somewhat to the help and change that's needed in our culture, but probably more likely they'll just affect the lives of some individuals, hopefully for the better. My parish life has changed recently, and I need to preach shorter sermons in order for us to fit our weekends together correctly, which means I leave a lot of material on the cutting room floor that could be in a sermon. This is going to be an opportunity for me to speak to the congregation a little more, and as I said, to contribute to the larger cultural conversations we're having. I know I'm going to get lots and lots wrong here. My hope is that moving forward, what I get wrong will be less important than the contributions I make that help somebody else get it right. Our goal is to follow Christ with all of our heart and soul and mind and strength, if we are Christians. And so now, I hope that this podcast will help you do that. As I came out here to film this, I chose this place because it's a lot like a place I grew up. A creek running through the woods, not too far from civilization, but far enough to help you feel the distance, feel a little closer to nature or the environment, or as I would eventually, after my conversion, come to call it, creation. Speaking like this, speaking thoughts that aren't complete, speaking without a script, speaking without a lot of wordsmithing, which is one of the reasons I posted so rarely to my blog. This takes me way outside my comfort zone. Being in a place like this brings me comfort and helps me do what I want to do with this podcast. But as I was coming to this beautiful, beautiful area, and I had to kind of make my own path to get to this spot. There were no ready trails. As I set the camera down and prepared to try and film myself, this is what I found. A Budweiser can with folds of honor on the side, in red, white, and blue in this election season. And someone threw it out here, polluting this beautiful, beautiful landscape. I feel like that's happened a lot in the life of the church, particularly in the last maybe 2.5 centuries. There's been a lot of pollution. There's been a lot of using Christianity for our own ends. There's been a lot of deconstruction with no thought to what would replace it. Except that some of what was to replace the heart of Christianity was going to be anti-Christianity. So there are some within the church who are using the church to subvert the mission of the church as understood historically. This beer can kind of symbolizes what I hope to do with this podcast. I can't clean up the whole stream. I can't clean up all the litter even in this little patch of road that runs not too far from my house, but I can pick up one can, throw it in the recycling, and help conserve this beautiful land. I hope that together, with the thoughts that you'll feed back to me and some of the contributions I make to you, we can conserve the faith delivered once for all to the saints.
Peace to you, 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 peace to you.